A couple of weeks ago, last few weeks, I've been working on a paper. This is why it's on the forefront of my mind. Working on a paper on this, on the Stoic views of nature, and specifically as nature manifests itself in farming, in agrarianism, right, in an agricultural context. And it strikes me that for contemporary Stoic practitioners like us, like the majority of the human population all over the planet, right? We are urban dwellers. The vast majority of us live not just in cities, but either in or near quite large cities. And if you look at population growth historically, right, as you were, suggesting or hinting, there are more human beings scampering around on the planet now than ever in the history of the planet. Ever. So cities are getting bigger. Human population is growing and growing and growing and growing. And so the context of our lives is thoroughly urbanized. And because of that, when we're commuting, when we're living so close to so many other people, and we look up in the night sky and it's just sort of dark, it's not black punctuated by points of light, because in cities we have tremendous light pollution in addition to the air and water pollution, right, that are direct consequences of us not being careful when it comes to our footprints and our waste and so forth. But it makes it harder, I think, as students of Stoicism to remember that in the ancient world there were so fewer people, and they were spread across, the same, land masses and continents. There was just so much lower density of human habitations, human communities, such that at night it was really dark and you could see the stars and you would be awed looking up at the Milky Way, right? We've lost so much of that in the urban setting. And again, some people do garden, right? My brother is very active in gardening and planting both flowers and some vegetables that he eats at his home. But many of us, I, for example, don't garden, don't raise food to eat, don't plant plants. And so in this kind of urban setting, we turn to books because we don't have quite as rich and variegated an environment of natural things, natural processes of plants and animals, right? To be inspired, to be impressed by how well they live their lives, by how remarkably they transform and they respond to challenges of drought and flooding, and yet continue to survive and even thrive despite those things. So it is as if our range of lessons that we can learn in cultivating our own wisdom and understanding has been narrowed by the urbanized setting that the majority of us live in. Whereas there are lessons to be learned by farmers doing farming, right? Working with animals, cultivating plants, and so forth. So reading those ancient texts about Marcus and Seneca and Epictetus to a lesser extent, commenting on farming. One of the great works that I can put in a plug for here that I had not studied much at all before, that most Stoic students don't ever read, is Seneca's Natural Questions. People read his letters, people read his moral essays, they're all wonderful. Why did Seneca devote thousands of words to theorizing about lightning and the flooding and the receding of the Nile River and earthquakes and comets and meteors and all of that? Why did he do that? It's because the natural world is full of those marvels. And to be a Stoic is to want to understand how the world works. So he wrote this wonderful tract on the natural questions. And he has these digressions in which he bemoans the moral failings of his fellow Romans who were decadent and who don't care about virtue and who are gluttons and who drink too much wine and they're too greedy and their moral characters are depraved as a consequence because they don't have an appreciation of, as we were calling before, providence, cosmic order, right, and so forth.